Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new TV show spoiler review here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg, and today I am breaking down and spoiler reviewing season 2, episode 1 of the HBO show, The Last of Us. So if you're new to the channel, guys, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I do movie and TV show reviews. Every Tuesday, do a box office breakdown show, movie franchise rankings, and add a theater reactions. If you like any one of those things, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell. And also, I'll do these reviews for you guys for Last of Us every single Monday. Also, guys, please comment down below. What are your thoughts on The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1? If you want to do video game spoilers, type video game spoilers, do a couple paragraphs below, then start typing. I do respond to all comments, so definitely please comment down below. Also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. That's how YouTube knows to recommend my videos to more people. So the best way you can support is also hitting that like button. So we're going to do these reviews of Last of Us Season 2 different than how I covered the show in 2023. Now, the reason why is I, before even the first season of Last of Us, I am someone who is a diehard, obsessed with both Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, the video games. I've played both of them twice fully through, and I've rewatched cutscenes and playthroughs around 3 or 4 times each of the games. And leading into season 2, I did rewatch playthroughs of Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. To get myself once again back in the world of Last of Us. Now, in the first season, I kind of tiptoed around video game spoilers and just wanted to cover the show for people who have not played the video games. But moving forward, because there's a lot to talk about on the way that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin are adapting Last of Us Part 2 into at least 3 seasons, they said. I do feel the need to do half of this review spoilers, but only for the casual fans, meaning only people who have watched the TV show. They want my thoughts on the episode, the breakdown of it, not hinting or explaining spoilers of the potential things. And then the other half of the review will be video game spoilers, breaking down what we know is going to come next, when we might see that, many more things. So half of this review will be full spoilers. And if you have not played the games, no worried. I'm going to leave a time code. It'll say TV show spoilers. If you're just someone who watches the TV show and you want me to break down my thoughts on the episode, and then it'll say video game spoilers. So if you've played the games, you want my full thoughts on what they're going to do, that's when you'll find that. So I just want to say that before we get into the review. So I am very excited for this show. Now, The Last of Us first video game is a masterpiece. It's the best video game, in my opinion, of all time. Now, in my opinion, while Last of Us Part 2 was not as good as Last of Us Part 1, I am someone who is pro Last of Us Part 2, really liked Last of Us Part 2, almost loved it. There's a couple of things I didn't really like about the game. But comparing it to Part 1 is interesting because with Last of Us Part 1, there's not really a lot to change. A lot of the first season was shot for shot, especially in the back half of the season, adaptation of the game. And here, because Last of Us Part 2, if you're not familiar, is double the amount of time, story-wise, that Part 1 is, I knew they couldn't get all of that done in Season 2. And especially as Season 2, this season is only, let me make sure I have this right, 7 episodes. The first season, they covered the entire game in 9 episodes. And at least for now, they've already renewed for Season 3. But they said at least Season 4 could be where they wrap things up. So they have basically 3 seasons of one game they're adapting. So I was very interested to see what they were going to do, how they were going to adapt it. And so let's get my spoiler thoughts on this episode. Don't worry if you've not played the game. I'm not going to spoilers of that now. I thought this was a really good start to Last of Us Season 2. There's a opening scene. We get 2 kind of opening scenes. One is the last shot of season 1, which is when obviously Joel and Ellie get out of the situation and Joel saves Ellie. Joel, they do the promise and they swear. Then we cut to same time period, a new scene that is not in the game, which is the character of Abby, new character from Part 2, played by Caitlin Dever. And you have her whole squad, Owen, who's played by Spencer Lord, Nora, who's played by Tati Gabriel, Mel is played by Ariella bearer, and Dan Ramirez is playing Manny, and they are recovering after the fallen Fireflies after what Joel did at the end of the first season. And Abby, we don't know why. If you're not familiar with the game, you do know why. But if you're not familiar with the game, you don't know why Abby is after Joel. Because Abby says, we're here to find Joel. They bring up Isaac in this scene. Isaac is the character who is played by Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright also played the character on in the video game in part two, but he only got one or two scenes, really two scenes in part two. Seems like they're going to explore a lot more of Isaac, the character of Isaac, in this show more than they did in the video game. And we cut from the Abby kind of revenge back to Jackson, and we do a 5-year time jump after the events of season one. So Abby's a little more grown. She has that tattoo over the bite mark to make sure people don't know. Again, it is a secret to everyone at Jackson except for Tommy, Joel, and Maria that she is immune. They're keeping it very secretive. And we have her, doing the shooting with Tommy, which is also directly from Last of Us Part 2. And already the big part of this episode is that Joel and Ellie are not on the same page. And they were obviously very much father and daughter throughout season one. But we catch up with them 5 years later, and there's not a reason given yet why Joel and Ellie are not on the same page. Tommy lies to Joel that, he was just shooting infected by himself, even though he was clearly shooting with Ellie. Joel is very overprotective as Tommy breaks down to her that Joel's trying to put her on a gateway job, which is the safest job you could have, instead of going on patrol with Dina and now, of course, I'm Jesse as well, so I can't believe I messed that up. Jesse and Dina, she doesn't want to keep roaming off by herself, which she keeps doing. And Joel is very much overprotective of Ellie. Ellie's now living in the garage. Joel's by himself in the house, and they are just not on the same page. They're barely looking at each other. It is that bad. But again, you don't know why things are not good between Joel and Ellie. Now, I'll get to what it is in the video game spoiler part, which we'll get to in a second. These will be longer reviews. I have a lot of thoughts on this, as it's my favorite video game property. We get the building of this Dina relationship, and something that's new, not from the game, is this scene between Dina and Joel. And they're just trying to show you that at the moment, it's so bad for Joel and Ellie that even Dina is acting more like Joel's daughter than Ellie is. And you're seeing that divide. But Ellie and Dina are very close, as well as Jesse. Jesse and Dina break up at the beginning of this season. We don't really see the breakup. They are just automatically broken up. Ellie and Dina go on patrol, which is also right from the game, and they run into a new clicker. And it's a new one where it's not just moving blindly based on when it's sound, it goes to sound. It's kind of this creature that can lure you in. It's a smarter version of the infected that they have seen up to this point. Ellie gets bitten, but again, she cannot tell Dina. It is a secret to everyone except for Maria, Tommy, and Joel. And that is where, obviously we're building the chemistry between Ellie and Dina. And that's when Ellie has to cut, kind of make it a mark instead of a bite mark. Instead, so she cuts it with a knife. Because again, Ellie cannot tell anyone that she is immune. So they have this whole scene with like the people running Jackson, also not in the game, but I thought this was actually a really good change that they kind of have their own democracy going in Jackson. Obviously, Maria says she has a feeling that something is not going wrong in a bad way. Also, new character, which is Gail, who's played by Catherine O'Hara. She is now the therapist for Jackson, and she has this sit-down scene with Joel. And we learn here that Gail is celebrating her birthday for the first time in 41 years without her husband, Eugene, who will later be played in an episode by Joey Pants himself, Joe Pantanello. And Eugene was a character who got no scenes in Last of Us Part 2, but was a character referenced multiple times. But we learned that Joel was actually the one who killed Eugene. And she says how uncomfortable it is to have to talk to you and all this stuff. And Joel kind of lets out, like, you have to get something out of your system. It's not just regular 19-year teenage daughter-dad relationship. It's something else. And is that Joel says that he saved her. Joel's supposed to be significantly older at this point. I think Pedro Pascal is really pulling off grizzled, old veteran Joel Miller at this point. And Pedro Pascal continues to deliver. Bella Ramsey as well was really excellent in this episode. She's going to really have to step up. She'll be even more of an important character this season than last season. So I'm very excited. But she already, I thought, was even better in this first episode than she even was in season one. So very happy to see that. The big culmination of the episode is this dance scene, which is shown to us in the game at a completely different point in the game. This part of the season happens way later in the game, but they put it in the first episode with this with Ellie and Dina. They're dancing. They kiss in front of everyone. Seth makes a whole thing out of it. Joel shoves Seth, and that's when Ellie basically embarrasses Joel in front of everyone. It's the first time their relationship is kind of being public on how not good it is. And that's when then we end on, Joel sitting on his house, playing the guitar. And I was getting emotional, if you know people who play the game, what scene they're hinting at. And then Ellie walks off. This will be a callback, if not this season, next season or fourth season down the road. And obviously the Infected are making their impact on Jackson. So, and then we end on Abby and her group coming in, and they see Jackson as she's on revenge for looking for Joel. So I thought it was a really, really good first episode. I feel like the best two actors translating from the game to live action were Isabella Merced, who plays Dina. I've been a huge fan of hers for a very long time. She's excellent. She really felt like Dina from the game. And her and Bella Ramsey already have amazing chemistry. So I am very excited for the Ellie and Dina relationship to continue on in this series. And also Caitlin Dever, who has to play a very important character in Abby. That is a tough character to pull off from video game to live action. And in one scene, I completely bought that Dever was Abby. So those two castings were unbelievable. I think Young Lizino as well, very good as Jesse. Catherine O'Hara was excellent in the episode as Gail. And of course, the returning cast members are also really, really strong here. So I'm very excited for the season. I'm going to break down most of my issues with the episode have to do with how they're changing it from the video game. So because in the first season, it was very straightforward how they were adapting the first game. And the second game, it's not a spoiler, the second game, they tell the story very much out of chronological order. So there's a lot of flashback scenes in Last of Us Part 2, and they're supposed to be put in there to feel the effect of something that happens in the present day. As I said, this Ellie and Dina sequence happens in the near end of the second video game, but it happens in the very first episode of season 2. So they're telling us more chronologically, which makes sense. A lot of people's biggest issues with the second video game was how they went through time in so many different timelines and the flashback here, back to present timeline. It got kind of confusing on where everything lined up in the timeline. So I definitely understand streamlining it, making it more in line, but I will say the Abby opening scene was a very good scene. As someone who likes the video game, I didn't like that they revealed Abby's at least trying to get after Joel right away. There's a lot of mystery around the game. But overall, really like the first episode. I'm intrigued to see the differences in the video game as we move on. But it's great TV. So that is my spoiler thoughts. If you've just watched the TV show, have never played the video game, so this is the time. If you have played the video game, or you don't care about spoilers for future episodes, this is your time to stay. If you are done, you've not played the video game, you're just watching the TV show, you don't want to be spoiled about what's coming up next, this is your time to head out. So this is the time code. Please head out because now I'm talking video game spoilers for the last time. Waving my hands, video game spoilers incoming now. So as I was just saying, they did do a pretty big departure because, as I said, part 2 of the game goes all over the place chronologically. And as I said, this scene between Dina and Ellie happens in the very end of the game. It's heading up to the last scene, building up on this Ellie and Dina relationship. And as I said, my biggest problem with the episode was really the opening scene with Abby because it's a very good scene. Nothing wrong with how it was acted, written, or anything like that. What I loved about the game was you had no idea who Abby and her crew was. You would play as her, setting up, her going into Jackson, but you had no idea who she was after, what she was doing there, nothing. To a point where you didn't even get their names until two or three scenes into playing as them. So you kind of, and then that led to, again, spoilers, the twist, which is when Abby gets saved by Joel and Tommy. It's actually a twist, and that's when Abby kills Joel in a very vicious way. And that twist, no matter if you like that the game killed Joel or not, the twist hit harder because you had no idea it was coming. Here, the show is already telling you that Abby is already after revenge on Joel. Now, you don't know why. Obviously, if you play the video games, which we're going to get into now, we know that Joel, the first doctor that Joel shoots, who is the one who's the only one who can perform the surgery, is Abby's father. And that is who Joel kills to get Ellie out of the hospital. And that is why Abby is after Joel. So obviously they don't show that. They show the dead fireflies outside the hospital, but they don't explain to you that Abby's father is the reason why she's going on this revenge path. So I do wish that, like the video game, you had no idea who Abby was. But it does seem, as of now, I would be shocked. It seems like next episode they will kill off Joel. So I think an hour and a half into playing part two, where Abby kills Joel. It happens so quickly. And I do think that obviously Pedro Pascal is ultra famous. He's very booked and busy. I don't think you can kind of drag out Joel staying alive in the present time past the second episode. I think, and based on the ending shot, which is Abby and her group finally moving in on Jackson, it does feel like next episode they will end on Joel being killed. So I do think that's how they're going to end episode 2. And also the thing that we don't get revealed in the show is why why is Joel and Ellie not on the same page? And we know why if you play the video game, which is that midway through part 2, we get all these flashback scenes. We get one of the most important scenes, which is that 2 or 3 years before the present day, Ellie goes back to the hospital. She shares a full recording of what took place, that the smuggler killed everyone, and he killed the only doctor who can cure, who can get the make it can cure this immune, or how am I saying this? Can cure all these diseases. But because Joel killed this one doctor, who again is Abby's father, no matter if they find Ellie again, they can't find a cure. And that's when Ellie says, Joel, right now, right here, if you don't tell me right now, I'm not coming back to Jackson. But if you do tell me now, I'll come back to Jackson. I just won't ever talk to you. And that's when Joel tells Ellie what happens. And that is why Ellie and Joel are very distant in this first episode, because Ellie gets told 2 years before this present time by Joel what happened at the end of season 1. So that's why they're not on the same page. That's why Ellie doesn't want Joel stepping up for him. And Ellie wants nothing to do with Joel. The other big part of the video game that I want to talk about is the last scene. So I got emotional with that. They were actually to do this. It might be the best scene of Last of Us Part 2, which is the very last scene of the game, which is when Joel and Ellie meet up on Joel's porch, and it's them beginning to forgive, Ellie beginning to forgive Joel. But obviously the next morning, that's when Joel and Tommy go off. That's when Ellie and Dina and Jesse go off. And that's the last conversation that Ellie and Joel ever have. Now in this scene, Joel's playing. They're clearly teasing, as us who play the video games, what this scene's going to be. But what happens is Ellie stands there. You think Ellie's going to walk on the porch and have this amazing scene of Joel like we have in part 2. But Ellie walks off. Now, I do hope Ellie comes back on the porch and has this scene. But I would rather this scene happen after Joel is killed. We get shown on the TV show after Joel is killed, like the game. So, because that is the best scene of Last of Us Part 2, arguably the best scene of either game. Just Ellie beginning to forgive Joel. Obviously, right as she's beginning to forgive Joel and get back their relationship, that's when Joel is killed. So, I hope they have this conversation, but I hope we see it after Joel is killed. It hits way harder that the fact that Ellie was about to forgive Joel right before Joel died. So that is my video game spoilers. I do think Joel is not making it out of episode two. And that would make a lot of sense. So, what are your thoughts on the first episode of season two of Last of Us? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next Monday for another Last of Us spoiler review.